get ready to ask me anything. Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to episode 46 of the Gamer Crafting Podcast. I'm Angie Indie Dyer and General Mess. As you saw in last week's episode, I am sometimes an incredible mess, dropping entire pots of dye on the ground, dropping my phone into dye pots. It's a whole thing. Anyway, hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to do an Ask Me Anything. I posted up on Instagram yesterday telling people they could ask me anything, and I'm going to go through the questions. Today I have my handy dandy tablet, which used to be Sarah's until she upgraded, and so now it's mine. Anyway, so today I have a lot of work to do. Actually, I have an enormous pile of yarn that needs twisting up into skeins, so I'm just going to do that while I talk to y'all and answer your questions. I hope that's okay. If not, you can just stop watching. Before I get into the Ask Me Anythings, I just wanted to quickly show you some yarn that I dyed for Frenchie of Arohanit, who designs beautiful patterns, many times inspired by her Maori heritage. And this is the Ocean Pathways. There's two different cowls. There's like a regular cowl and then like a more tubular cowl. The colors were inspired by our mutual love of the film Aquaman, and the story is obviously inspired by the Maori diaspora. So with this kit is just launching this morning. I literally just got the email from her saying that it was published, so that's really excited. So with the kit you would get, you'll have to get a pattern from her, but the kit that you get from me, you'll get 100 gram skein of, I'm calling this Ocean Black, and then you get 2 each of these 3 colors mini skeins. So you're getting 220 grams of yarn, and it's beautiful. I'll put the picture up here in editing. Anyway, so that's really exciting, and I just wanted to quickly show you that before I kind of get into it, because it's brand new. It literally just launched 5 minutes ago. By the time I get this edited and up, it'll be a couple hours ago, but that's okay. I only have a couple of these in stock at the moment, but they are open for back orders, and I will get them all dyed up this weekend to be posted next week. As you can see, I'm putting the finished skeins of yarn into this basket. I'm not just gonna like put them on the ground. That would be monstrous. Also, I'm pretty sure you can see this skein of yarn here, which is escaping out of the back of the drying tower, which is right here on the inside of the apartment. That looks like it's part of one of the DK Gradients kits. So I'm sure that I probably went berserk looking for that and then ended up dyeing another one. Really, it was just there the whole time. Okay, so the first question that I got yesterday was from Lisbon Grav, and it says, how has your dyeing style changed, if at all, since you began? So much. Obviously, the more that you learn about any sort of creative, or not even necessarily creative, anything that you learn, this is going to be difficult. I have a lot of work out here. So my dyeing style has honestly changed so much since I started, which was almost 4 years ago now, which is wild to me to think about. We've been podcasting for about 1.5 years. We've been live streaming for about 1.5 years, almost 1.5 years. So it's wild to me to think, all of the things that have changed in 4 years. Dyeing style, I've changed loads. Obviously, as you learn new techniques, you experiment, you get a bit more space to be creative, a bit more money to invest in new bases and new yarns. Your style is going to change a lot. The earlier shades were, they were fun. They had pops of color. There wasn't very much neon in the very beginning, whereas obviously, like everything almost has a little bit of it now. So I didn't use much neon in the beginning. I used, the way that I dyed was different. So I typically used pots, whereas now I use a combination of pots and pans. And in the beginning, most yarns were like a 1-step dye or a 2-step dye, whereas now I'm a lot more likely to get more creative with layering colors and have like a 2, 3, 4, sometimes even 5-step dye process. So obviously all of that is going to mean that you end up with wildly different looking yarns. I would also say that I've gotten more adventurous with speckling. I didn't really do much speckling in the beginning because speckling takes a while to figure out how you want to do it and how you want your speckles to look. Every dyer does it a bit differently, and I was talking about that a bit last week as well. So like this is Emotional Support Witch, and this is on a BFL DK I didn't do speckles in the beginning, and I also didn't do BFL in the beginning. BFL is still pretty recent, but y'all seem to like it, which I'm really thrilled about because I love how Blueface Luster wool takes dye. It makes my heart sing a little bit. They're just super vibrant and you get this nice shine. They're just gorgeous. So I would say my dye style's probably changed a pretty significant amount since I started. Right, the second question is from Nelle or Neil the Finn. And that says, do you have a colorway that you love but hate to dye? Yes, I think that's probably true for every indie dyer. We've all got colorways that we love and our customers love and are popular, but like every time it comes up on the dye sheet, you're like, for me, it's probably any of the Rainicorns or Ravicorn, because they all have to be hand painted. There's no real way to shortcut those yarns. Like they have to be hand painted like that. They have to be done individually. There's not a good way to shortcut it, because if you try to shortcut it, which I have, you end up with muddy skeins and they don't have that nice rainbowy effect that you'd be hoping for. They end up a bit muddy. The colors end up a bit smushed together. It doesn't look nice. Oh look, here's one. Here's one right now that's funny. And I would say, especially with the Ravicorn, so that's the same as the other ones, but this neon, obviously. With the Ravicorn especially, because they are neons, you have to be extra super careful with those neons, because if you use too much, the color's just going to bleed everywhere. They're going to bleed into each other, and you're just going to end up with a really ugly, muddy-looking skein of yarn that makes you sad inside. So I love it. I think it looks great. I used it for my framework bralette, which I was wearing in last week's podcast. But every time it comes up on the dye sheet, I'm like, that's also why I tend to batch those yarns. So I'll like pick a day where I do all of the Rainicorns and Ravicorns, to kind of just batch them, get them done. Okay, somebody said, which of your colorways brings the biggest smile to your face? I don't know. That'd be a hard one. Like, I do really enjoy the rainbow ones because they're fun. I enjoy the rainbow, like the neon-y shades. Those are really fun. Those definitely bring a smile to my face. As far as yarns that like always bring a smile to my face, one of my favorite shades is called Catra. I think there's one in this pile somewhere, so we might come up against it at some point. It's called Catra, and it was inspired by the She-Ra Netflix reboot, which I adore, by the way. And I love it. Like, this is the yarn, and I dyed it, and I mixed colors custom for this yarn especially as well. So it's not just one dye, it was like a mixture of a bunch of different things. And when I first dyed this yarn, I like gasped when I twisted it up, because for me it's like the love at first sight yarn. You know, if you saw it at a show, it would call to you from across the room. And it's not a big seller. I don't think everyone else agrees with me, and that's fine. That's probably a yarn that always brings a smile to my face, but also the collaborations that I've done with Lola of Third Vault Yarns, I've done a few collaborations with designers and stuff before. Obviously, I just showed you the one with Aroha knits. But Lola is the only person I have ever done dye collaborations with. And like, so that brings a smile to my face because it makes me think of the really fun times that we had when we were dyeing yarn. And like goofing around in her studio or in my kitchen, or, you know, sending messages back and forth over WhatsApp while we, you know, nerd out about whatever book we just finished. So yeah, I would say either one of those. Either Catra just for my own selfish enjoyment, or a collaboration if I'm being a bit more sentimental, a little bit mushier. We have been talking about doing another collaboration later this year, but we haven't quite figured out yet what it's going to be. We did sort of punt around some ideas after the Instagram live that we did together a few weeks back. So we'll just have to see, you know, what comes of that. Obviously right now we're not able to actually get together to work on yarn, so it would have to be some sort of remote collaboration, which is still doable. So we'll just have to decide kind of what we're feeling inspired by, and maybe we'll have some news to share at some point in the near-ish future. Okay, the next question I have is from Perth Festival of Yarn, and it says best flavor of popcorn. I assume this is a sweet versus salty question, which I've got to be honest, is probably one of the things that still feels the most foreign to me. Even after living here in the UK for, six years? Something like that. I don't know, I'm not big on the sweet popcorn. I can't really get on board with it, unless it's like toffee popcorn when it has some sort of, coating over it. But as far as just popcorn that just is vaguely sweet, I can't do it. On the topic of popcorn though, there's these enormous popcorn tins in the US. I don't know if they're still popular, but they were when I was a kid. Huge tins of popcorn, and they have, usually about four different flavors of popcorn in them. And people would just give them to each other for Christmas. It was like the quintessential, I don't know you that well, but I feel like I have to get you a gift. And so, parents would end up buying in like a few of them just to like give to people who randomly stop by. And there would be like, your normal popcorn, and then like a toffee popcorn, and then a cheese popcorn, and then there was usually, a wild card, some sort of specialty gourmet popcorn or whatever. So I really do miss the giant popcorn tins. I don't know if they're still a thing. I don't know if they're still around. I don't know if that's still the quintessential Christmas gift for people but not that well. But man, the popcorn tins were lit. Right, okay, Mrs. B the Knitter said, favorite sci-fi series, books/TV/film. I don't know if you're asking me for books and TV and film, or if you're asking me to pick one out of all three, which is impossible and I can't do it. Favorite sci-fi series? No, there's too many that I like. I can tell you about ones that I've really enjoyed recently. How about that? Is that a nice compromise? I hope so. So, books is the first thing. So, last year, I read the Binti trilogy by Nnedi Okorafor, and it's amazing. It is, like, such an amazing example of, like, immersing culture and sci-fi in a really, like, authentic, like, really engaging way. It's amazing. I recommend it to everyone because it was an absolutely amazing read, and I really enjoyed it. And it tackles so much, and they're not very long. They're sort of like novella length, each of them. Amazing. Though I will say that's probably one of my more recent faves. Is definitely the Binti trilogy. I also recently, I guess it's not a series yet, but I recently read a memory called Empire by Arkady Martine. I actually bought it for Sarah for her birthday last summer, but I only just finished reading it a couple of months ago, and that was really fun. That sort of space opera, fun reading adventures. It's very like political, so if that's not your jam in sci-fi, if you're more of like a sci-fi adventure person, you probably won't like it. But if you're somebody who really enjoys sort of the politicsiness of Game of Thrones, but also you like space, then you'd probably enjoy it. Highly recommended. So TV, favorite sci-fi series TV. Doctor Who always has to be on there, especially 13. Jodie Whittaker is definitely my doctor. I love her so much. But previous to her doctor, it was David Tennant. And I feel like they have, a lot in common. And that was a piece of vegetation that I need to get out. Hello, piece of vegetation. That happens sometimes, especially with more plant-based yarns. This is the bamboo, so it's a little chunk of plant in there. Okay. Right. So, Doctor Who's always got to be on there. Star Trek Voyager is probably one of my all-time faves. I didn't watch it last year, I watched it a couple years ago, but Janeway, definitely my captain, definitely one of my favorite sci-fi series. And I also watched The Expanse last year, just binged the entire thing from start to finish, because again, Lola of Third Vault said, oh, this is really cool, and maybe we could do a collaboration. So I binged the whole thing, and I really super enjoyed it. The Expanse was great. I loved it. That was a bit more adventure-y, I guess. And again, I didn't watch this last year. I mean, I am sort of mentioning some other favorites. Sorry, don't think I can narrow it down to like one favorite. You're just gonna get a list. Sorry. Sorry to Mrs. B the knitter who asked this question. And obviously Firefly has got to be on that list. I know that people have their opinions about Firefly and they've got their opinions about Serenity, but I loved Firefly. I could watch Firefly, rewatch it, you know, multiple times and be really happy with that. And what else do we have? Film, sci-fi film. I think Alien/Aliens and all the Alien other movies is probably one of our favorites, both Sarah and I. I hadn't seen it before, I don't know, probably like 5-ish years ago. And then we bought the whole trilogy, and it's really great and I love it. Love Ellen Ripley, love Sigourney Weaver in it. I'm really like struggling to think of other sci-fi film franchises that I'm really into. For some reason my brain is really stuck on Avatar, and while I'm like, I enjoyed Avatar, but I don't think it's like, it's not favorites level enjoyment. I don't know why my brain is fixating on that, so I'm gonna move on. We have a message that says, which of your friends makes hella candles? And I wish I'd looked at these questions before I came out here, because I would have brought one with me. But our lovely friend Chai made us some candles. Well, he made us one candle a little while back, like sort of, it was like orange and it smelled really like orangey and stuff. And then last week, I think, I sort of casually mentioned that we couldn't find this one scented candle that Sarah especially really likes. It's like lime, basil, mandarin, which sounds like a weird combination, but it smells really good. And I sort of casually mentioned this to our friend Chai, and he made us some lovely candles. He made us like a whole batch of lime, basil, mandarin candles, which we've been burning, so thank you, Chai. That is very thoughtful and sweet of you. We have another question. How are you handling creative burnout and isolation? I don't know, really. I think I'm just kind of in this weird mode where I'm just kind of just dealing with it, which, you know, I'm sure may show up as some sort of weird brain response later when hopefully this begins to come to an end, whenever that may be. I'm not suggesting that it's now, because it's definitely not. And I don't know. I'm just kind of getting on with it, and I'm just kind of, I think because for me, creativity can feel a bit more like an escape from reality. So for me, it doesn't feel necessarily like a burden. It's more of a, I enjoy this because it makes me not think about the terrible, scary things that are outside the door, if that makes sense. Like I've been working on book 3 of my series, and I started it on Sunday. I'm up to about 10,000 words, which isn't quite where I wanted to be, but it's decent, I guess. I know that some people write much faster than me, and that's fine. But I've noticed that my pace is pretty consistent, and if I try to mess with it too much, I end up writing like just, I don't mean that like I write crap, I just mean that I end up writing a lot of like chaff that needs to get cut out later on anyway. So I would say I don't, for now, don't really have any creative burnout, but that's because for me creativity is like the thing that sort of helps me feel better about everything. Like being able to write for a couple of hours in the morning and in the evening is, you know, what helps me feel more like I can handle things. Like it's a sense of normality, you know, getting up in the morning and having the first thing that I do is put yarn on the hobs to dye. It's a routine, and it's a sense of normality that it helps me kind of deal. So I don't know, that's probably not a very good answer, but that's gonna have to be my answer. I'm sorry. Right, we have, are there any big gamer crafting projects in the works? Yes, we still have that. We got a new piece of equipment to make mugs, put designs on mugs, but we've been so busy with orders, with dyeing, and labeling, which is what I'm doing right now. Well, I'm twisting right now. The labeling will come later. And packing and everything that we haven't really had time to get into it and really give it the time that it needs to learn how to use a new piece of equipment. So that's coming up, and there may or may not be, I'm not sure. I don't even know if I want to announce this. No, I don't think I will. So yes, but I can't share too much because I don't know what's happening with it yet, and I don't want to promise things that I'm not going to be able to then deliver. So I did mention the collaboration with a row knits that I've already showed you. I did show you that. So that's, well, that's not really in the works anymore. It just released today. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Forgive. I will say this is probably one of my favorite shades. This is Storm, and it was inspired by Fortnite, which I started playing as a joke and then ended up low-key addicted to it. So yeah. So this is called Storm, and recently I've been trying to dye popular colorways in that onto different bases. So Storm previously was only available on like a sock 4-ply, and so this is it on a DK, and this, which I'm super obsessed with, is it on BFL 4-ply, and it just looks so vibrant and beautiful. I'm probably gonna steal this for myself. I don't know what I'm gonna make with it. Maybe some socks, because BFL is very good for socks. If you're looking for a 100% wool sock, BFL is where it's at, because it's still soft but it's nice and strong. Okay, we also have another question. What self-care have you done today? What self-care have I done today? I'll be honest, I haven't really done much today, but on most days I have a much more I have a much better routine. So usually what happens is I'll get up, you know, pretty early in the morning, especially now that it's getting warmer. I tend to get up really early in the morning to get yarn dyed before it gets too warm, because if I'm still dyeing yarn in the heat, and like the heat of the height of the day, I just get, it's just 0 to instant crab. From 0 to crab in about 2 seconds. So I try to avoid that. So I usually get up pretty early. The first thing I do before I have breakfast, before I sit down at my desk, before I do anything, is I go through and I see what needs to get dyed for the day. I'm giving you like a blow-by-blow of my day now instead of talking about self-care, so sorry. But the point is that I put yarn on before I do anything else, and then while that yarn is starting to cook, to process, to set, I will make myself a nice cup of coffee or a nice cup of tea, as has been the norm lately. And I'll sit down and I will catch up with what I'm doing for the day, and then I'll write. So I'll usually write for 45 minutes or an hour while that first batch of yarn is starting to process, and then by the time I'm done writing, it's, you know, about ready to start switching yarn around to like let it cool and put the new stuff on. But it's like the ritual of the making the nice cup of coffee or the nice cup of tea, and then sitting down and being like, this is my writing time. I'm not gonna look at my phone, I'm not gonna, you know, check my email until I'm done, is something that I find really restorative. I know that sounds really wanky, I'm sorry. But it is genuinely something that I found very restorative, just being like, I'm creating space away from the rest of the stuff that I don't want to have to be doing. You know, like checking emails, or, you know, going through invoices, or, you know, dealing with your accounting, updating your accounting or whatever. Like, that's not the super fun stuff part of the business. I enjoy dyeing yarn, tracking down invoices, perhaps less so. So I haven't done any self-care today because I put yarn on and pretty much immediately came right out here to record before it gets too sunny. Also, everything got completely messed up this week. Completely messed up. So basically we did the May the 4th promotion on Monday, so May 4th with you, the Star Wars, and had a new yarn, had the new Ahsoka yarn, and realized that I thought I had another pack of one of the yarn bases, but I didn't have it. And I was like, well, that's fine. I have to place a yarn order anyway. But then because of the postal delays and courier delays, I didn't get the yarn when I normally would. So I was like, a day behind. And so I thought, well, instead of going on Thursday to take packages, I'm going to go on Friday. And I woke up this morning and our friend Mike was messaging me and he said something about it being a bank holiday. And I was like, what? And he said, yeah, it got moved. It was supposed to be on Monday. Me, completely oblivious to bank holidays, literally always, because of, I work for myself. Bank holidays don't really mean anything for me. I still have to get out of bed and I still have to dye yarn. I still have to work. And unless I'm being very specific to observe some sort of holiday or special day, like it just whoosh, completely over my head. So we had to push things to Monday, which is why I'm sat here talking to you. Anyway, that was a big ol' diversion. But the point is that it's important to take time for yourself. It's important to make sure that you're getting those moments to yourself of quiet, away from social media and away from your email and away from, whatever else that's causing you strife. So Emmeline Mimsy asked, how are you and your wife so cute together? I don't really know how to answer that. I mean, I'm glad that you think that we are cute together. Obviously we're like anybody else, really. We are pretty cute though. I'm not gonna turn this into a relationship advice giving podcast because I don't really know if I'm qualified for that. I am involved in a successful relationship right now, but we've all got failed relationships, I suppose, that we can look back on. Yeah, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm glad that you think that we are cute together. I think that we do manage pretty well. We work together in the same space all day, every day, and don't usually end up apart from each other, because we work in the same space. We both work out of a 1-bedroom apartment, which isn't very big. So, it's alright. We do alright. It's all good. Anyway, I'm sorry about the traffic sound, which I'm sure will probably sound louder than they do to me right now. But I can guarantee you it's not as bad as the very loud washing machine that I can hear from right here. Forgot that I was going to record and I started the washing machine thinking, oh yeah, I put a load in here yesterday, I should probably start the washing machine. And then immediately after I started, I was like, there was a reason that I didn't start that. Oh well, so I'm sitting out here. So you're welcome for seeing my balcony, I guess. My still very much in progress balcony. I will be doing some planting later today though, because those seedlings are ready to be planted out. I'm excited. I also got some new seedlings that I planted about a week ago, and I think they are just about to sprout their little heads up, so be exciting. Oof. However, I did plant some chilies that they've not done anything, so I'm going to try again with those. So this is another yarn that I'm dyeing onto different bases now. This is You Have Died of Dysentery, which was inspired by Oregon Trail. I think I did mention it last week, for whatever reason that was. Oh, I was dyeing this last week. That's right. I was dyeing this last week. So this is what it looks like if you're watching last week's podcast. That's what You Have Died of Dysentery looks like. This is on a DK base. I have it somewhere in here on a yak base, but it hasn't surfaced yet, so I'll show you when I manage to pull it out. So I did say that Catra was a yarn that always puts a smile on my face, and this is it. This is Catra. So it's it probably just looks like a neon yellow, but there's like a tinge of green to it. It's almost like a spring green, a neon spring green. I love this yarn. I love it. I'm not even somebody who really likes yellow. That's how you know it has more of a green in it than a yellow. That's Catra. Got a few skeins of that kicking around. Right, what was the next question? A Crawley 13 asked, will you do any yarns based on your characters? I assume you mean from the books that I have written. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I thought about doing it for the book launch, and then things got really busy and I wasn't really able to, and it didn't happen. And then I thought, well, maybe it's too late now. Maybe the moment has passed. I don't know. So maybe, I still haven't decided. I'd have to think long and hard about what their colors would look like, because I wouldn't want to default to things that felt too easy. I'd want it to be more of like a personality study, but then I feel like most people would then maybe not be that interested in that, so I don't know. So maybe, I haven't quite decided. Maybe I'll wait until book 2 and then do a bunch. I don't know. I'm sorry that maybe is a really wishy-washy, nothing of an answer, but it's all I've got right now. Book 2 is out with beta readers and writing book 3, and it all feels a bit wild to still be doing that in the midst of, you know, a global pandemic, but hey. All right, that's this question. What would you say is your favorite colorway in the shop right now? Well, I did just say that I'm really into Catra, but I guess if we're talking about newer colorways, I do really like the new Animal Crossing ones specifically. I know this may surprise some of you. I don't think I have it even in here, so I don't think I can show you. But the Infinite Spider Island Animal Crossing yarn, I really like it. I think it turned out well, but it was also because it really pushed me out of my comfort zone. I don't usually dye with orange and brown, like that's not my jam. It's not colors that I really enjoy using, but I think I did an alright job with Infinite Spider Island. I will say this is already twisted up, but I put it in here because I wanted to show you this enormous this enormous skein of yarn. This is a super bulky and it's sparkly. It's a new yarn. It's not in the shop yet. I've been testing it to see how it dyes before, and how it holds up and stuff before I put it into the shop. But I really like it. So I dyed it with Lady Rainicorn. So one of the things to see if it held color and it didn't just like bleed over into the other colors and make it muddy and gross. But I think it turned out really well, and it's just so chunky. Okay, apologies for the interruption. I thought that my washing machine was making a terrifying new sound, but it turns out that it just sounds the way it normally does, but it sounds a lot different out here. You're getting like a different vibe of the vibrations, so I thought that it was about to explode, but really it's fine. No stress. Oh my god, the panic I just felt was real. I don't want to be dealing with a washing machine replacement right now. Okay, deep breaths. We're fine. Washing machine's fine. Alright, so I just pulled this one out. This is another new base. Again, it's the Lady Rainicorn, and I just dyed it on a new base to see how it would do. So this is, it's a little bit more of a rustic wool, but it's got these sort of black, it's got like a black, you know what I mean? It's spun with these sort of black fibers as well, and I like how it looks with the rainbow, actually. I think it looks nice. Anyway, so those are two new things. So I guess those are two new big things coming, I guess. Right, so I have a few more questions. Apologies if I don't get to yours, but I'll probably only have this go another 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, so the next question I have on this list is, what food have you never eaten but would really like to try? And I'm thinking about it, and I think this is going to be a bit of a weird answer, I think. But I would really like to try jackfruit, because I know that a lot of people use it as like vegan alternative to pulled pork, and I know that people swear by it, and I'm just really curious. I'm curious about it, what it would taste like. I'm curious about the texture. I know that there's big differences about how you can eat it when it's unripe versus ripe. I think if you're going to do the pulled jackfruit pork imitation thing, I think I read that it has to be unripe, because once it's ripe it's too sweet. So I think jackfruit would have to be on my list of things that I would like to try and haven't, and I've also never seen it in a store, either fresh or canned or otherwise. So I've never had the opportunity to, but I'd really like to try it. I'd like to like experience what that's all about. Okay, somebody asked, do you think that aliens exist? Which is a really interesting question. I think that it's almost a little bit narcissistic to think that in like an infinite, you know, universe with infinite galaxies and infinite possibilities really of stars and formations. I think that it would be naive to think that there's not aliens. I don't think that aliens have contacted us, if that's what you're asking. I think that aliens that were advanced enough to reach us from another galaxy, I think they would probably take one look at us and be like, they're a little too primitive. Like, they're still fighting each other for like oil and resources. Like, we're not quite ready to it's the prime directive. They're not really aware yet, so we shouldn't be doing that. I think that's what my answer would be. I think there's definitely probably aliens somewhere. I don't think that they've contacted us. But I think that, yeah, I don't know, probably something out there somewhere. By the way, this is You've Dyed Dysentery on Yak Sock, which I think looks really nice. Okay, somebody said, what animal do I think would be cutest if it was scaled down to the size of a cat? Which is a fascinating question, because now I'm thinking, what would be cutest? Because I feel like there are certain things that even if scaled down to the size of a cat would still be a little too dangerous to be dealing with. So, like, lions or tigers or, alligators, stuff with big scary teeth, I feel like would still be too alarming even at the size of a cat to, although I guess a cat is like a tiger-sized, or a tiger cat, I don't know, they're similar enough. I don't know, the animal that would be cutest is the size of a cat. I feel like most people would be going top down, so like bigger to smaller, but it might be interesting if you think smaller to bigger. So like, what about a cat-sized ladybug? No, that's a little horrifying. Or a cat-sized butterfly. There probably are cat-sized butterflies, to be honest. There's probably like giant, enormous butterflies, the likes of which we've never seen here in the northern hemisphere, this far from the equator. I don't know, maybe like a donkey. I know that's probably a weird answer, because people are probably thinking, really? But donkeys have the cutest ears ever, and I think that they're really cute. I feel like you still wouldn't be able to have a donkey, in an apartment, even if it was the size of a cat, because it would be quite noisy when it was walking around, but I think a donkey's gonna have to be my answer. Okay, somebody asked the most expensive thing I've ever broken. I can only assume that they're asking this because they watched last week's podcast and they're wanting to know more about my failed exploits at being human. Honestly, it's probably something like some sort of piece of tech. Like, I dropped a laptop once and broke the screen, and that was an expensive oops. Like, that's probably it, because it did cost so much to replace the screen, to have it repaired. I'd say that would probably be my answer. I know that's kind of a boring answer. Or a phone. I've dropped my phone and have to have the screen replaced. That's probably on the higher end expensive things that I've broken. I've never, this is sitting full. I have never, broken something in a shop. I've never done that, to my knowledge. I don't know if I did when I was very young or whatever. To my knowledge, I've never done that. Mostly because I'm like hyper aware of myself in stores where things can get broken, because I know that I am so clumsy. So that's why that's never happened. Is all I'll say about that. I think, yeah, probably a laptop or a phone or some, like a piece of tech is probably the most expensive thing I've ever broken. Right, so as I'm starting to wrap up, I will just show you, I was mentioning Infinite Spider Island earlier when Arthur Fitzgerald asked my favorite current skein of yarn in the shop, and I don't know, like, I think it works. These sort of like black and brown bits, and then like the pops of neon, I think it works really well. Although if you're playing Animal Crossing in the northern hemisphere, you'll know that spiders are out of season until like December now. We've got terrifying scorpions now. Hooray. That's what it looks like twisted up. So I've got through about half of this yarn that needs to be twisted up. I still have a lot more that needs to get done, but I'm not going to sit here and yammer at you that entire time. Also, I probably should go eat some breakfast because I am a little bit hungry. And it's been about 45 minutes of me yammering and answering questions. So I'm going to go. I'm going to finish twisting this up later. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't know what next week's podcast is going to be. Hopefully something interesting. Do join us for our Saturday night live stream. We are starting at 8 p.m. London time from now until, lockdowns end and people are able to kind of go out and socialize a bit more. So from 8 p.m. we will be playing the same game that we played last week, which is called Not for Broadcast, where you basically choose what gets put on TV. It's kind of like you're in control of the BBC, basically. We had a lot of fun with it. Last week there was a lot of weird, silly jokes and just cringe. But it sounds like everybody wanted to play it again, so we're going to play it again tomorrow from 8 p.m. London time. Thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe. I don't know, drop a comment down below with your favorite type of cake. There's your mission. Favorite type of cake. Drop it down in the comments, and I will speak to you all next week. Thank you for watching.